Pool, Barry, pool. Next month, everyone's favourite survival horror series is back, with Resident Evil Revelations 2. And we were invited down to kill some zombies and speak to the developers.
So my name is Matt Walker. I'm the production manager on Rev 2. I've been with Capcom since 2010 and started working right off the bat with Okabe-san, our producer here on Raccoon City. And we've been together ever since, really. And I guess you can introduce in Japanese and I'll interpret now.
はい、カプコンの岡部です。リベレーションズ2のプロデューサーをしております。よろしくお願いします。はい。
And so yeah, this is Michiteru Okabe. He's the producer on Revelations 2.
Excellent. So a few questions. First of all, I wanted to know why episodic content? Why like an episode delivery system this time?
It's a great question. And so what happens is, you know, we brought out Revelations 1, right? We brought out Revelations 1 on 3DS, and we said, all right, for this title, there's a couple pillars, there's a couple things that we want to establish, you know, things that we want to try out. We want to listen to fan feedback, and we said, first of all, you know, everybody says, I want a return to roots, you know, I want survival horror. So we said, all right, let's do that. Let's make sure that we give people what they want here. And the other thing was, we said, all right, we're going to make it this episodic thing, right? So for Revelations on 3DS, it was episodic. You know, it started out as this thing where, you know, you play through an episode or something, and then at the end you get, you know, next time on Revelations, this kind of thing. So we're like, all right, let's take that and let's build on it, you know, because we think this is a cool thing, and we think we can do even better this time. So we kind of looked at that and we said, well, what's the next natural step, you know? Well, that's to actually deliver it episodically, right? So we said, if we do that, you know, we can give people choice, you know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be locked into the full, you know, four main episodes, you know? And, you know, if you want, you know, you can just purchase episode 1 and, you know, see if you like it. If you do, you can keep going. If there's like any specific episode you want to buy after that, you certainly can. And then we looked at that and we said, okay, well, what are kind of some of the other cool things we can do with this? So we looked at stuff like, you know, Game of Thrones. We looked at, you know, Breaking Bad, these TV shows, these serialized dramas that have these cliffhangers at the end. We saw there's these great, passionate fan bases for all these shows that they watch an episode, they see a cliffhanger, they're like, oh my god, this is so cool, and they get online and they discuss. They're like, hey, what's going to happen, right? They're going to theorize and they have their hypothesis of what's going to happen next. And so we're like, that is so cool, we want that. You know, that would be so great for Resident Evil. So that was one thing. And then finally, the other thing is, honest to God, you know, we have all kinds of different fans of Resident Evil. We have really hardcore fans, the kind of fans that, you know, if I ask them, you know, who is the master of unlocking? They know who that is, right? Some people don't, though, you know. Some people are like, well, I like the horror of Resident Evil, but I don't really know, like, you start, you know, talking about the FBC and the, you know, whatever, you know, the BSAA and all these different organizations, they're like, I'm lost, I'm out. So he said it would be really cool if we could actually, you know, by implementing these hit cliffhangers, get a way to get both these kind of people online talking about, hey, what's going to happen to these cliffhangers? And then when this happens, we have a lot of different kind of throwbacks to, you know, older Resident Evil games. In this game, in Revelations 2. So we said it would be really cool if we had the hardcore fans kind of, you know, getting online going, oh my god, hey, did you see this great, you know, throwback, or this line was a throwback to this, and oh my god, that was so great. And then having the less hardcore fans see that and go, oh, okay. And then hopefully they'll get a better understanding of what Resident Evil is, and then, with any luck, enjoy the next episode even more.
Okay, thanks. Was it difficult trying to end on a cliffhanger at the end of each episode? Because I mean, that you're basically making 4 mini stories that, although linking to each other, have to have a proper ending.
You know, that is exactly it, man. That is and this is a question we've gotten, you know, over the last couple of weeks here, where it's very specifically people say, what was the hardest thing about, you know, developing episodically? And it's exactly that. It's exactly what you're getting at. That, you know, we worked with a guy named Dai Sato. He was the writer on Revelations 1 as well. And we worked with him and we said, okay, you know, we got to make these, you know, cliffhangers and we got to make them interesting. So the hardest part of developing episodically for us this time was actually having him work with Ampo-san. He's our director on the game. And basically going back and forth and, okay, well, what's going to be interesting? What is it that we have to put in this story? Okay, so how do we work backwards and actually come up with an interesting cliffhanger for this? And they just wrote and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote until they finally got it. So for us, that was, you know, something that we're used to, you know, putting out these $60 experiences, right? Where it's like, you know, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But this time it was cliffhanger. There's actually 7 cliffhangers and then a riveting ending, right? So, you know, they had a lot of, they had their work cut out for them, really.
Yeah, それにキャラクター個々の 要素もすごく足されていて、新しく紹介するキャラクターの萌えとかもそのダイアログが面白くなってたりとか、でそういったことも含めてそのエピソード1を楽しむと次のそのモイラたちの展開を気になるように仕込んであるとは思います。
And so we tried our best to also, you know, because there's also new characters this time around. We have Moira this time, we have Natalia, these new characters, and so we tried our best to, you know, make interesting characterizations for them. Moira in particular, I think a lot of people have said, okay, well, she's got interesting dialogue. And so, you know, we put a lot of effort into that, actually, into, you know, writing dialogue that we thought was going to fit these characters. So, with any luck, you know, we're hoping that, you know, people will play through an episode and then, you know, they'll want to play through the next episode to see just, you know, what's going to happen to these characters.
So, is it quite hard, you know, basically redeveloping Resident Evil each time round?
So,
redeveloping is kind of, I suppose, redefining the kind of the horror each time round.
Ooh, okay. About the horror.
バイオハザード我々のその作ってる今回のリベレーション2なんか特にその原点回帰っていうコンセプトもあるんですけれども、その毎回その新たな挑戦当然するんですけれども、彼らが培ってきた要素をその人がいることに、そういった古いその開発者がいることによってバイオらしいものっていうのが出来上がっていくと、新しい要素としてはメカニズムとか今回のシステムとかやっていくんですけども、ホラーっていう要素に関してはもう根本はそのサバイバルホラーを作ってきたその中で培ってきたものは根本は変わってないと思います。
You know, it is a challenge, but the kind of base we feel like never changes, you know, and kind of part of that is because we've always had the same people making these games, and in that sense, Okabe-san's always felt that, you know, kind of what makes Resident Evil what it is are the people that are making it, you know. For instance, so the director on this title is a guy named Yasuhiro Ampo. He's been with the series since Resident Evil 1. He was a programmer on Resident Evil 1 on PS1. So, you know, he's been with us the whole time. You know, he was a director on Resident Evil 5. And, you know, he kind of has an idea for, like, you know, this is what it's always been. And, you know, these are kind of the core things that we have to keep. But, you know, for this title, for instance, you know, we've tried to add mechanics, for instance. Stuff that, like, you know, we feel like, okay, how can we keep that survival horror experience, but also kind of, you know, add to it. And so you'll have stuff like, for instance, Barry, when you go play Barry's section, you're going to find out that he's got the ability to do the stealth kill thing. And that's not because we wanted to make, you know, Metal Gear evil, but it's because we wanted to, especially on Apple, he's like, I want to give people, like, kind of choice for their strategy, you know, options. Because, okay, we're going to do this, you know, survival horror experience where you're going to have limited ammo and stuff. But if all you can do is either just find ammo and shoot or run away, you know, that's not the most interesting experience he felt that we could give people. So he says, all right, well, for instance, you know, you can switch over to Natalia, and Natalia can actually sense whether enemies have found you or not. And if they haven't, then you can switch to Barry. He can go up behind them. He can crouch. You press in the left stick to go up to crouch. Go up behind them, and then you can hit, for instance, R2 on the PS3 or PS4 to do this contextual stealth kill thing. And so that's just like one option for, okay, well, I want to conserve bullets because I know I'm going to have to use them in like an upcoming encounter.
ホラーっていう要素を大切にしつつ、いろんなその新しいメカニクスとか紹介するのは割とチャレンジングなことではあるんですけども、幅広い人に楽しんでもらうためにはいい仕組みが入ったんじゃないかと思います。
And so we do, I mean, you know, it was a challenge for us to be able to kind of come up with these new mechanics that we felt were going to fit within the survival horror paradigm. But we think we did a good job, and, you know, we look forward to having people check it out and decide for themselves.
2 more questions, both relatively short. So the entire team must still love horror. Do you have a favorite horror series or horror film?
僕の場合は好きなそのホラー映画っていうと一番最初のゾンビ英語だとドーン・オブ・ザ・デッドでしたっけ？昔のですね。が最近だと当然ウォーキング・デッドっていうのはすごくいいテレビシリーズだなと思いますね。すごくリアルもあるし、そのゾンビっていう表現の仕方っていうのがこれまでにない。その哀愁すら感じるようなゾンビだと単純に殺せばいいっていう対象だったのがなかなかそのね殺せない身内だったりとか自分の娘だったりとか殺せないゾンビを殺してすごく悲しいっていう表現も入ってるっていうのは素晴らしいかもしれない。
So Okabe-san, you know, originally for him, like Dawn of the Dead was a big thing, but you know now these days it's you know, The Walking Dead, and he loves what they've done with like characterization. You know, it's not just a simple, okay, well, I have to shoot this zombie in the head and kill him, and that's it. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, this zombie is my daughter, or something like that. And oh my God, what do I do here? And so he loves this kind of, you know, the characterization, the humanization, you know, that comes from that. So, and then for me, actually, since you said horror series, you didn't limit to, you know, one medium. I'm going to say a Fatal Frame
video
game.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, obviously Resident Evil is a huge thing for me as well, but Fatal Frame was this experience that I played on PS2 for the first time, and the atmosphere was just palpable, you know, and it's so creepy to walk alone in there, you know. And there's the one scene in particular that I loved was you're walking through this hallway that you can actually see 2 floors. It's in this Japanese mansion, right? And so in Japan we have these sliding doors made of paper. Yeah. And you know, I'm walking through this hallway on the first floor, and I don't even notice it, but there's this koto music playing, this very faintly, and then all of a sudden you hear this, and then I realized that there was this kind of shadow up you know, playing the koto like behind one of those sliding doors, and it scared me. Like, this scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. I'm in for a treat here. So, yeah, Fatal Frame for me.
And there's one question that we got as a geek like to ask everybody. It's a bit strange, but tomato ketchup, where do you store it? Do you store it in the cupboard or in the fridge?
So do you store ketchup in the cupboard or the fridge? Do you refrigerate your ketchup?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so, I know.
まあトマトケチャップなんじゃないですか。はい、あれはどこで保管するんですか、個人的に。
僕は冷蔵庫に入れます。
He's a I was saying Japanese. Oh my god, he's a refrigerator kind of guy. And I don't really have ketchup in my house, honestly. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks guys. The first episode of Resident Evil Revelations 2 will be available digitally on February 25th, and then a new episode weekly until March 18th.
Shh. Stay back. Where'd it go?